Auf der diesjährigen Games Convention gab es so viele Adventure-Präsentationen wie noch nie zuvor. Klar, dass man sich bei adventuretreff.de dabei auf eine ausführliche Berichterstattung verlassen kann. In unserem GC-Video-Feature präsentieren wir euch deswegen in unregelmäßigen Abständen Interviews und Eindrücke von der bedeutendsten Spielemesse. Viel Spaß bei unserer zweiten Folge.
Von Adventure-Fans heiß erwartet wurde die groß angekündigte GC-Pressekonferenz des Hamburger Publishers DTP. Natürlich waren auch wir mit unserer Kamera live dabei, um die anwesenden Game Designer zu interviewen. Sierra-Ikone Jane Jensen konnte sich leider nur über eine Videobotschaft an das Publikum wenden. Die Entwickler der Indiana Jones Adventures, Hal Barwood und Noah Falstein, sowie Baphomets Fluch Schöpfers Steve Ince waren aber persönlich vor Ort. Wir haben die drei Legenden deswegen hinter den Kulissen abgefangen und zu ihren kommenden Spielen So Blonde und Mata Hari befragt.
So Blonde is an adventure game about Sunny Blonde, who's a 17-year-old American girl who finds herself stranded on a very strange tropical island, which seems to be an ideal sort of paradise at first, and she considers it to be some sort of holiday resort. Unfortunately, as she investigates, she finds it seems to be filled with pirates and other strange people like that. Of course, how can pirates exist? And of course, none of them have even heard of a mobile phone, cell phone, and there's not a five-star hotel on the island. So, you know, she's very confused by this, and so as the game progresses, Sunny as a character really kind of grows and develops and becomes kind of very integral to solving the problems that the island finds itself in.
Okay, so what kind was your involvement in the game? What part did you play in the making of the game?
I became involved very early in the process. Wizardbox, the development team, came up with the original premise and some initial character sketches and a couple of sketches for the first few locations. So they brought me on board to develop the story and work out, sort of how Sunny would move from this kind of like very, very shallow person into something more. How we kind of like develop that. How we create a sympathetic character from someone who seems very shallow, in a way that sort of would just seem very natural and organic, so that the story unfolds in a very natural way with drama and intrigue and all the rest of it. So kind of I've been involved for nearly a year now, sort of on and off, and I'm really excited with the way it's looking, with the way that the ideas have kind of been realised, and the whole team has done a fabulous job, and I've had lots of fun, and those guys have done all the hard work of putting the game together. So it's a perfect working relationship for me. I sit around a lot thinking. No. When I first got involved, I went over to Paris to meet with the Wizardbox team, and they were just so good. We hit it off straight away. We sat down, we thrashed out the main kind of like thrust of the story. I scribbled down lots of notes, and then it was kind of we developed a first pass story document where it's maybe like 5 or 10 pages, and it's just kind of like this is where we see the story going. So there's all sorts going on there. It's got like taking on board the feedback from the team. Sort of they came up with some great ideas, which we had to kind of like work out how to integrate into the overall design and the overall story. And it was just kind of like that feeling that we were just working towards creating as good a game as we could, and it wasn't about sort of like there was no competitiveness, there was nothing like that. We were just kind of working towards this shared vision, really, and that was a real pleasure about it.
So what are your favorite adventures from other companies, and how did they influence your working style?
I've tended to favour, sort of some of my favourites have been, the more humorous ones. So, sort of like Grim Fandango or Day of the Tentacle. I love those games. I just love the way that the characters interact with each other, and some of the jokes are brilliant. And in Grim Fandango in particular, I mean, I just love those voices, sort of particularly like right near the beginning of the game when you've got Manny chatting with the receptionist whose name I forget momentarily. But the dialogue there is just wonderful, and that kind of like sets the whole tone for the rest of the game. But then sort of like I like some of the more serious ones, like Moments of Silence. I think that was a very good game, and I'm looking very much, really looking forward to Overclocked, and I'm looking forward to all the games that seem to be coming out at the moment. Sort of the Memento Mori, Mata Hari, Grey Matter. I mean, there seems to be a lot of really good games coming out within the next year or so, and I think that adventure fans are probably getting the best deal over the next year than they've had for a long time. So it's quite an exciting time. But going back to your point about influence, I think the influence is you always have get influence from everything that you play, everything that you read, movies that you watch. So it all kind of comes into the mix in somewhere, and it's kind of how you manage that influence and how you kind of use your own interpretation of that influence to create something that you hope is unique, really. So it is a mixture of all sorts of things. I like the principles that sort of made some of those older games classics, like the LucasArts games and some of the Sierra games, because they had a kind of sense of fun about them, and that's what we're trying to do with So Blonde, is make sure that it's really a sort of a fun game first.
So what are you going to do after So Blonde? Do you have another project already
I'm waiting? I'm currently doing some work on another project, but I can't say anything at the moment because it's not been announced. And then, I mean, at some point, I want to do some of my own stuff. Obviously, I mean, you know yourselves that I have my own ideas, sort of, and so I'm looking around to try and find ways of bringing those ideas. I mean, there's one in particular which is a kind of science fiction adventure, but it will be purely point and click adventure. But it's and I have a kind of very rough demo and some screenshots, but it's kind of maybe in a month or two I may kind of like look to release something just to get feedback, nothing more than that. Yeah. And maybe kind of but that's something for as I say, maybe a month or two yet.
Do you think science fiction is harder to sell than other kinds of themes in adventures? Because we talked to Bill Tiller earlier, and he said he also has a concept for a science fiction adventure, and nobody wants to buy it.
Yes, I mean it does seem to be a problem. So I have approached publishers, and sort of they're a bit unsure. So, and this is why I want to kind of get some public feedback on it, because sort of. But the main thing I think, or what I think is a real strength of a science fiction adventure, is that you can put things in that you invent. So you've got more option for a greater variety of puzzles there, and because you're not worried about everyday stuff, you can put in cool gadgets or strange alien blobs or whatever, just to create puzzles, and you can make it fit within the world.
First of all, the first question before I forget it, as we all know, Indiana Jones met Mata Hari 1914, which we saw in the 22nd episode of the second season of Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. So do we have any references to that in the game?
Oh, well, that's a tough one, because we are, of course, no longer employed by LucasArts and not official Indiana Jones licensees, but I think you can safely assume that there'll be a lot of interesting references that both adventure players and even some Indiana Jones fans will recognize. You want to?
Well, I'm not going to promise anything. I'm sure that Mata Hari had many lovers, and I don't know if she remembers Jones all that clearly, to tell you the truth.
Okay, well, you already said it, you're most known for your Indiana Jones games, of course. If I like Indiana Jones, what would I like at Mata Hari as well? What resemblance are there?
Well, Jones is a man of action, and Mata Hari is a woman of action. So,
what means that?
Well, it means that she's an independent woman who sort of takes matters into her own hands and propels her own career forward with a lot of self-confidence. And so you're playing a kind of heroic character, and I think that those characteristics are in common with Indiana Jones.
And also, one of the things that ties them together, I think, is that with Indiana Jones, as with Mata Hari, we all know what the historical facts were about, World War II in Indy's case and World War I with Mata Hari, but all the interesting stuff happens behind the scenes, and really a lot of the fun part is discovering what was going on that we never actually did find out about in history, and that's really common, I think, in both of those.
So Indy mostly uses his fists, if you say he's a man of action, and you told us that Mata Hari will probably use more her body. What can we expect there? Is this a mini game kind of stuff, or
definitely a different kind of action?
Yeah. How does it work? How will it look like in the finished game?
Well, there are lots of things, but she uses womanly wiles. She has a seduction technique that she uses, and she dances, of course.
What mean you with dances? Dances is more. To me, it sounds like a more mini game type of. So how does this work? So
it's hard to describe.
Is it mouse driven?
Yes.
So you don't have to.
Well, we tried very hard to cater to adventure game audiences and not make anything too intensive in terms of requiring fast reflexes, because we know that most of our audience is not really into action games that way. But I think what you'll find is both fun and appropriate. And as in the conference we just did, I don't want to scare anyone by having it seem that it's too risque. A lot of the sexuality is more implied than shown on the screen, of course.
Well, you don't need a dance pad.
Okay. That's what I would like to hear.
Want to make sure that people understand that they'll have a lot of the sort of standard puzzles that LucasArts was known for. Although we are trying hard to make this accessible and not have any of those go away for a week or have to turn to the message boards to figure out what's going on. And some of the puzzles are much more spy-like, in that she has to do things. There are some mini games with decoding machines and wiretapping technologies at the time, as well as some interesting seduction puzzles that are really a matter of learning to read other people and say the right things to them based on what they're saying to you. So pretty much like real seduction happens. And kind of things that work with Mata Hari both as a spy and also as an exotic dancer.
Well, and also, of course, there's the standard range. There's a lot of assembly puzzles and gadget puzzles, but a lot of social puzzles to go with them, and a lot of deception puzzles. There's even a feed the animal puzzle, which is required in all adventure games.
Very interesting. Can you said to us that probably the game will be a one-click game, so you just click with the left mouse button. Do you already have a decision there, yes, how the interface will look like? So it will be a one-click, so just the left mouse button?
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess one other thing that may be a little different about the interface is that we're not afraid to make it look a little bit more console-like. We really do have the interface quite in evidence in the game and not trying to fade it all completely into the background. And we just think that that's a good way to go. I think people will, within a few minutes of playing the game, find it completely natural and overall find it a lot more enjoyable than if we try and keep it all hidden at all times.
Okay, so wouldn't it be too easy if I just have to click left on everything?
No, it'll be wonderful.
When we look at the first screenshots we saw from the early demo versions, they look quite drawn to me and also to some of our readers. Are there pre-rendered? Are they hand-drawn, or is it a mixture? Can you tell us anything about the process?
Well, by the standards that are applied in most adventure games in Germany, they have a slightly painterly look, which is on purpose, but they derive from 3D models.
So they are fully 3D rendered?
Yes.
Hal and Noah, thanks very much for coming, and we're looking forward to your game. Anything you want to say to our readers or something?
Well, I hope you enjoy the game, and what we always used to say is we hope you enjoy playing it at least as much as we've enjoyed making it.
We're not finished yet.
No, we're not. When we do get finished, though, please play the game.
So, thanks a lot.
In der nächsten Folge setzen wir unser DTP-Special mit Martin Ganteföhr fort, der uns erklärt, warum selbst Kritiker von The Moment of Silence an seinem neuen Spiel Overclocked nicht mehr vorbeikommen. Jamil Kemal von Lexis Numerique spielt für uns außerdem exklusiv das ungewöhnliche Adventure Experience 112 an. Des Weiteren zeigen wir euch das Adventure-Wort zum Sonntag und mit welchen Kamikaze-Methoden sich Marco und Basti auf die Präsentation von Tim Schafer einschleichen wollen. Ihr dürft also gespannt bleiben.